Welcome to this week's edition of 5 Minutes of Management. I'm Frank Kalman here with Rick Bell. Rick, Workforce Live fall season coming into focus. We'll be in Chicago September 1st, Dallas September 7th, and San Francisco on September 22nd. So if you're in those areas, be sure to check out live.workforce.com. Rosters are filling up nicely, and it should be a good event.
Summer is going to go by just like that, and all of a sudden it's going to be time for Workforce Live and Workforce Focus, which is coming up in Boston in September, and Workforce Focus on employment law in Chicago in November.
And if you didn't get a chance to check out our spring event season, specifically for Workforce Live, you could check out all those videos currently on our website on demand right now through the video library. Yes. So lots of cool content up there. Be sure to check it out. So Rick, what do we got from you today?
Well, you know, Frank, one of the draws that organizations try to use to bring people in is offering alcohol in the office. And now, you know, human capital media is really no different in that we've started to have a happy hour, an informal happy hour, along with an awards event, you know, just sort of a congratulations recognition type program, of which you won an award. So congratulations on your GEM honors. But there's also a flip side to it too, Frank. I mean, some organizations just let it go wild, but others are trying to maintain a certain amount of decorum within the organization. Now, for example, Yelp and Zillow have in-house kegs that dispense, and they do track the amount of alcohol that's being consumed. NerdWallet has a bar as well. But there was one story that kind of struck me. So this one woman said that after they closed a round of funding, the firm's founders bought champagne into the office. They gathered for the staff toast, and it was 9:30 in the morning. And this woman, she didn't drink, and so she felt extremely uncomfortable. But yet her bosses were somewhat upset with her. So so there's this balancing act, Frank, that I think organizations need to take, and not to call out Yelp or Zillow or NerdWallet, because they do counterbalance it by having family-friendly events, by monitoring the amount of alcohol that's being consumed, and also offering non-alcoholic drinks when they do have in-house events. So yeah, I mean, it comes down to a very delicate balance, I think. And believe it or not, there are people who don't drink in the office, Frank, and you just have to be sensitive, I think, to that.
Yeah, for better or for worse, you're seeing corporate culture kind of come back to a culture of alcohol consumption. I think in a new form. I think back in the day, the 60s and 70s and 80s, I think in a lot of industries it was pretty normal to have alcohol in the office. And I think there was a drying out period over the 90s and the early 2000s where that sort of went away and a lot of cultures got a lot more conservative. But with the boom in the modern Silicon Valley tech age and just this evolution of corporate cultures, you are seeing beer specifically and alcohol be integrated back into the workplace.
Right. And part of it is because of so many of the young workers are migrating to different areas. And so what do they do to sort of occupy their time? Well, instead of going out, they have in-office events, and a lot of these entrepreneurial companies, it sort of is an extension of them being in college, and it's something of, I don't want to call it a frat party, but it's essentially another way to congregate and be with friends.
Mm-hmm. And it's a fine line. You've seen some companies like Zenefits, which we've written about, kind of get into a little bit of hot water with the fraternity-like culture.
They would do shots. They would do shots during the day. Now they've banned it.
And I think culturally you risk alienating a lot of really talented people who maybe don't buy into that lifestyle. So I think as a company, you maybe don't have to shun, having a casual or having alcohol in the office completely. But, like you said, if you're going to ask your employees to toast champagne at 9 a.m., maybe not be offended if certain employees are not totally bought into that.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, and again, I mean, we've instituted, a little informal happy hour once a month, and, it's kind of nice to get together and just over a beer, talk to your coworkers that you wouldn't normally talk to.
Sure, sure. Well, speaking of cultural transformations, with not with alcohol, but with workplace culture, J.P. Morgan dropped a little bit of a subtle culture bomb for us this past Friday when the company announced that it was relaxing its dress code to allow employees to wear business casual every day of the week, as opposed to the formal suit and tie for men and the suits for women. So J.P. Morgan, big financial firm, lots of client-facing interactions happening. Most of those clients very, very wealthy. So the formal attire was just a staple there, and it's been a staple to a lot of Wall Street banks. And they basically said, hey, we're going to loosen our collar. I'm guessing this is a response to millennials entering the workforce. We've talked about quite a bit on this show the fact that Wall Street is really trying hard to attract millennials. And I think loosening the dress code for business casual is a step in that direction.
Well, it certainly can't hurt. Now, there are a lot of people who would wear their suit to the beach. It's like, so some people are going to continue to wear a suit and tie, and that's fine. But if people want to go a little more business casual, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and to be sure, their policy basically says that if you're still interacting with clients on a pretty frequent basis, you're more than likely going to be wearing a suit anyway. It's mostly for a lot of the non-client-facing employees. Specifically, you're seeing a lot of these banks really ramp up their technology departments. They have a lot of coders and analysts that are working on their technology products that don't necessarily interact with clients face-to-face. It's basically a message to them that, hey, you can lighten up, wear business casual, collared shirt and slacks. Hey, why not? Speaking of Wall Street, real quick before we wrap up here today, I thought this was interesting. We've had a lot of talk about sort of the tug of war of talent between Silicon Valley and Wall Street, sort of the conventional thinking of late being that, top talent is graduating college and they're going to the Valley. Well, Goldman Sachs, for its 2016 summer positions, saw 250,000 job applications come in. That's a 40% increase from 2012 for Goldman Sachs. The vast majority of applicants were most likely millennials because of the number of applicants for the company's summer jobs and new analyst positions. Goldman said that 223,849 undergraduates applied for summer jobs and new analyst positions. That's up 46% from 2012. So that kind of flies in the face of the thinking that people are spurning Wall Street to go work elsewhere.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the story you just had before that is Wall Street making an effort to reach out to a younger audience. And so by doing things even as simple as casual work days, casual dress during work days, and some of the other policies that they've instituted, more time off, it's like maybe they're getting the message and people are responding.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, Bank of America, only 3% of its applicants for its investment banking division were offered a job. Citigroup, 2.7% of applicants for analyst and associate positions in its investment banking division got offered a job. So, you're getting 200,000 applicants here. Not many people are actually going to crack through and get jobs. So,
no, but still,
good for them.
Yeah,
they're still popular among the class of people that are graduating and entering the workforce. So
yes, they are.
I think that's the headline. But that's all we've got for this week's edition of 5 Minutes of Management. I'm Frank Kalman here with Rick Bell. We'll see you next week.
Take care.